I wanted to pass things over to Jenna, who will begin to launch us into talking about the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Maya's talked about some of the different phases we've been through, some of the different areas we've been working towards and the groups we've been involved with. And as just one of the culminations of our work together, we decided in December 2021 to respond to a call for papers that were exploring and offering to the international community examples of how to teach about these concepts that Margot presented at lightning speed. Bravo, Margot. For a special issue of the Lancet Planetary Health. So we had a discussion amongst ourselves, thought about what we might have to offer, and then we put out a call to our alumni. We have about 350 alumni now, people who have gone through different versions of the course. We have the field course, we have the blended learning hybrid course that we've been doing since 2016. We have people who have attended the webinar only version or the on-site courses. We have a strong commitment towards being bilingual. So we have students who have gone through the program almost entirely in French, others who have attended bilingual courses. And so we put out a call and had a great response from people who spanned the 15 years of our teaching. So we had representatives from, I think, all of the different years from 2008 all the way up to the year we asked if people would be interested in collaborating with us. And we ended up having multiple discussions and creating this article that we're going to present to you now amongst 19 authors in the end. So I'm going to pass that over to Paula, who's one of the alumni from 2018 who joined on this journey with us. Thank you very much.
And Jenna, you were going to mention the bilingual element, which is something that we just want to make sure we flag for folks.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I mentioned, we have courses that have taken place in French in Quebec. We've run 2 full courses there, and every year, as part of the blended version, we have a site in Quebec. So it's possible to take the course mostly in French. The webinars as an international offer are conducted in English, but there's always the opportunity to speak or chat in the chat box in French, and we do the best we can to translate as we go along. Thanks.
Thanks, Jenna, and hello to everyone. As Maya said, I had the extreme I'm very grateful that I was brought into ecohealth experience and ecohealth teaching during my PhD. I'm a medical doctor, and I managed to do this ecohealth experience, as I told you, as a PhD student, and it actually opened my eyes to a new, broader elements that made me work better in my field with indigenous populations as an epidemiologist. So when Jenna gave us this email, I was willing to participate and to share how this had helped me in my work. So I'll tell you about this. We were invited, all of us, multiple students, to work and collaborate and see what it would turn out to be this paper. So actually, there were 11 alumni who accepted to do this collaboration, and there were 8 faculty members that were working constantly, and we were sending out papers, documents, teleconferences, and we were actually sharing emails, no? And then we, the alumni, decided to share an open question, an open qualitative questions, which I'm going to read you exactly. You can read it in the paper, but it was, what did the ecohealth course enable in terms of your own professional or scholarly development? So this was the question that we fully opened, and we shared and we write down what had this experience helped us in our work, in our professional careers, and 3 major themes came up. We grouped them, we made themes, and these 11 participants brought this communities of practice, different ways of knowing, evolutive pedagogy. Okay, I'm just going to mention two things about community of practice and evolutive pedagogy, and I'm going to go straight forward into different ways of knowing in this special theme. The community of practice basically is to feel comfort on what is an ecohealth practitioner. And I'm going to read it exactly. And it means someone, the term of ecohealth. So if you're interested in doing ecohealth course, it will enable you to be a practitioner. And it's used to broadly include anyone who is working toward the betterment of ecosystems and human health while being attentive to interconnections, systems, and equity. Whether you are working in every aspect, in ecology, in health, in medicine, in sociology, in anthropology, it did help us. And this was our experience that we all shared, and we came up to join this pattern, this community of practice that we joined. And in pedagogy, it changed and it helped us that we evolved these courses. As Jenna said, it came out to be hybrid, it came out to be online, and the pandemic was a clear experience that we can do it together and we can move forward, okay? In different ways of knowing, we came to three main things that are very clear, that are heart, heads, and the last one, sorry. Yeah, here, there, thank you. Heart, hands, and head, which is very important, that crosses out with heart, something that is emotional, hands with something that is cognitive practice, and heads that something is cognitive. So the course given this herramientas, how you say, Jenna? These tools, sorry. Yeah, tools, sorry, sorry. These tools that help us to work along with local communities and help us globally to work and to bring us, for example, in the course, you were given tools to think and to read, but you were on field trying to apply it to see if experientially it did work with indigenous communities or with local communities, if it really worked. So you were constantly experiencing what is working during the community. So many people that were given their experiences, they show that this was proven along with experiences, and that they led us to take away all these rigid positions that we usually have in academic things. So this bring us the concept of critical thinking. We are constantly critically proving if this is working for the communities, the local persons, if this is giving solutions along the way in situations that are particularly critical with political situations and stability, and that is ecologically needed in the communities, no, practically. For example, there's a quote that it gave us the experience that to understand the models of ecological at the level of primary health care physicians, no, that it helped us a lot. The next one, please. Yeah, sorry. And this one is that what I told you about the iterative and evolving pedagogy that we, as Jen has mentioned, it has changed constantly, and it gave us a fluidly approach to change the different paths of the chances of giving the course. No, the next. Yeah, I give the pass to.
Perfect. Thanks, Paula. And hi, everyone. And I'm just going to carry on in this pedagogy space and talk to you about some of the thinking that goes into the courses each year and how we've sort of evolved and changed, I would say, annually in the time that I've been involved. And yet sort of stayed constant and used that pattern wheel that Margot presented as really a basis for keeping the course grounded in some of those principles. So just as a reminder, my name is Jane Parmley. I'm at the University of Guelph on the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit. And I've been involved in teaching the hybrid multi-site course since 2019. But I really enjoyed Maya's presentation of her sort of engagement in the community. And I have to say, it got me thinking, and I've had connections with CoPEH Canada and the ecosystem approaches to health going back to the 1990s. And some of the instructors in the veterinary colleges across Canada, people like David Waltner-Taves and Bruce Hunter, who were really very early pioneers, I would say, in the space and introducing it into the vet curriculum across Canada. And I loved hearing your stories, Maya, and I've recognized that this community has been a constant in all of the different jobs I've had across the country. So I've spent time as a PhD student, I spent time as a practicing veterinarian, I spent time working for a small not-for-profit in British Columbia, and the federal government, and now in academia. And CoPEH Canada and the broader community of practice in this ecosystem approaches to health space has really been a constant that I've floated into and then maybe stepped away from and then come back to. But I'm really happy to be part of the teaching team for the last few years and going into 2023. So I do want to just emphasize that this has been one of the most engaging and interesting and different teaching experiences that I've had. And a lot of it has to do with the other instructors and really a lot of the participants and students who I feel like we're trying to sort of level the playing field a little bit. And the students have a lot to teach the instructors and vice versa. So it's that real sharing of information that's happening within this course. And Jenna, maybe we can move to the next slide. And we spend a lot of time as the core teaching team, I think, really with these 3 R's, the reflection, refinement, and redesign of the course on an annual basis. And this comes from reflections of the 3 or 4 or 5 of us who are involved in developing the course each year, in what worked well in previous years, what were some challenges, where could we have some tweaks. We do an annual survey of students each year that we get some feedback on. We try to incorporate those changes. And it's not just a core teaching team. We try to involve members of the community of practice outside of the core teaching team to bring stories, to bring their own experiences, to share their experiences with participants, and create a space where students who are involved in the 3 sort of physical sites, as well as the webinars only, places to share and explore and discuss amongst themselves. I think that was all I wanted to say there. I just wanted, maybe just going back, Jenna, sorry, one thing, just really reflecting on, I think some of these challenges that the student authors on the paper really emphasized, there's some of them are listed there. And I think that's recognition that there's not one way of doing this. Margot emphasized that it's ecosystem approaches to health. It's not the approach to health. And so recognizing that we can't cover all of these different elements, that we don't have all of the expertise, that we have to rely on our community to bring in some of those missing pieces. And really, I think each time we deliver the course, we're really trying to bridge that knowledge to action gap and to find things and ways that we can ground some of the material that's presented in case studies or in actions that happen in the different field sites also. And so in reflecting along all of those things and in redesigning it each year, we have made some, I think, fairly imaginative, creative, and maybe quite sort of evolutionary changes to the course as we go along. And maybe that's where we can move to the next slide, Jenna. So we've talked a lot about changing from a field-based course to a hybrid course that has mainly been online to connect the sites, but there's also some field elements with it. And so that was one of the big changes. But we've also been trying to change how we present different information. And one of the things we've added probably for the last 3 years, I might have that wrong, it may be 4, is an aspect of narrative readings. So we're all in different places and there's many different ways of knowing. So bringing in some of more of the arts and the creativity, we've selected some readings that are based on the site. So here you have the ones for Quebec and Ontario that we selected for last year. And so we've got individuals can choose a book that is from about where they're joining us from or other. And then we try to create book clubs, essentially, where you can share your experience, what you thought of the book, how it spoke to the different places, just as a different way of bringing more creativity, I think, into our teaching spaces. In addition to this, we've also incorporated introductions to each of the webinars using music. And the other piece that we've often done, and I'll get to it in a moment with some of our assignments. Actually, maybe it's on the next slide, Jenna. Oh, no, it's not. But I can speak to it and I'll come back. It's also different types of writing. So we have different assignments. One of the ones that we commonly used is a blog. And so different ways of writing and communicating for different audiences. But this year, through our connections with Jenna, we also had an assignment that students could choose to do, which was more creative writing. And it was part of a series of articles called Health Punk, which is about different ways of thinking about health from all sorts of different backgrounds. And I think it was a really novel idea. Not a lot of students chose to do it, but some of them did. And 3 of them were actually published in Health Punk that came out last year. And maybe Jenna, you could stick that in a link to that that series, our collection of stories, and into the chat. But one of the things I do want to speak to, that even though we've switched to this hybrid learning space where a lot of our connections are online, the importance of staying connected to place, we try to emphasize throughout the course. And we do that in part with some specific field activities in each of our 3 sites. And so these are just some photos from the course in Guelph last year, that we do go out, we meet with others in the community, we engage in some of those conversations, and we really try to ground the learning material in the course with the place in which we are based. And this was challenging during COVID, where we couldn't even get together outside for a year or 2, but we did manage, I feel, to still stay grounded in where we were and what that ecosystem was around us. And we did that by experiencing outdoor spaces alone and then sharing those experiences together. And we used a variety of different approaches in each of the different field sites, likely sort of reflective of the personalities of the different instructors in each of the field sites. And Jenna, maybe we'll continue on. And this is where I thought we were going to talk about some of the assignments, but we do try to bring in some shared experiences that connect between the sites and the webinar participants. We encourage all of our students who take the course for credit to develop a poster. And then we create learning opportunities where people can give and receive feedback about their poster. So they can reflect on it, they can receive criticism, they can make some of those changes. I mentioned the blog and then the narrative, the Health Punk. There's usually another assignment around sort of situational learning. And we've had this sort of shared synthesis project for the last couple of years, really to bring in more of that across the different sites and to encourage the students to work together to really think about the course themes. And that's the other piece. So each year or 2, we change that theme that covers the course. And we've had themes around species at risk, around watersheds, around this one here, navigating the space between advocacy and academia. And last year and for this year, our overarching theme is reciprocity. And we're revisiting that theme this year, I think, because of the richness of the discussion that surrounded that term. What does it mean? How do we ensure a reciprocal relationship? Where does it intersect with all of the eco-health principles? And then some of the different field sites also have case studies, and for example, the conversion of a former golf course into housing developments, and that was a case study at the Quebec site last year, I believe. And maybe we can move along. So that's a real sort of probably a lot of information very quickly. And the other thing that I did want to mention too is that we've tried to expand the space for reflection, for discussion. And so we've increased the length of the webinars from 1.5 hours to 2 with a conscious effort not to increase the content, but to allow more space for discussion and reflection of the material that's presented. And so we've tried very hard to create that space and save that space without adding new material. And so before I end, I just want to talk very quickly about the offering for this year and invite you to join the multi-site hybrid course. And so Jenna, maybe we can move to the next slide. So this year we have 3 full credit graduate level courses at UQAM in Quebec, at Guelph in Ontario, and at UNBC in British Columbia. As Jenna mentioned and Margot highlighted, we do try to do the course in a bilingual fashion. The webinars are presented in English. Chats and discussion about posters and novels can be in either language, and we encourage the exchange in different languages as well. And we have a series of 8 two-hour webinars. Maybe we can carry on to the next slide. And as I mentioned, this year's theme will be reciprocity again. And we try to connect that theme with the pillars, principles, and the material that's presented to come back to that theme. It helps ground and connect the different webinars and brings them together. And then the students then do a final project at the end where they reflect on all the patterns and principles that we've presented and consider the theme in the material that they then share. And that can be as a rich picture map. It can be as a video we've had. There's been some musical pieces done as well. So thinking and using creativity to really bring the course theme and the foundational pillars and principles together. Next slide. And this is just an example of the webinar schedule. These are the dates for sure, I think, for 2023. The order of presentation may change, but this is just a space so you can have an idea of what will be presented and what that sort of flow might look like, and some of the different instructors you can see there as well. And then to sign up, all the information you need to sign up and engage in the course, and we'd love to have all of you there, is on our CoPEH Canada website. I did put the link in the chat earlier, but you can find that material there. For students who are going to take the 4-credit course in at one of the universities, you do sign up at your local institution, and you can find those contacts listed on the website as well. And I think all of that is on the next slide, Jenna. Yeah. And so for the full courses, you can sign up through your participating university. For the webinars, you can contact us. Jenna is great on Twitter, and you can follow us there at CoPEH_Canada. And we do have some newsletters and highlights that go out occasionally through the year. And you can sign up for those at copehcanada@gmail.com. And I think that's enough from me. I believe that brings us to the end. As Margot mentioned, there's a bunch of papers there that have informed our sort of practice and our teaching. I would love feedback about the paper that we presented and highlighted here. And now it's time for conversation and questions about the course